Chapter 20. I felt strong fear from Jacob as we descended down into the canyon, so strong I kept returning to him for reassurance. Then the girl scent pulled me forward and I galloped ahead, racing toward a collection of small buildings. I spotted the little girl sitting quietly on some steps that led to a big porch while a man pulled at the front door to the building with some sort of tool. She seemed sad and scared, but she perked up when she saw me approach, holding out a tiny little hand. The man suddenly whirled, staring at me. My hackles rose when our eyes met. I felt the same dark sickness from him that I'd felt in Todd, only stronger, more vicious. He jerked his head up, looking over toward the road I'd come from. I ran back to Jacob, the little girl calling, "Doggy," as I peeled away. "You got her," Jacob said. "Good girl, Ellie. Show me." I took him back to the building. The little girl was still sitting on the porch, but the man was nowhere to be seen. 8 Kilo 6, victim is secured and unharmed. Suspect fled on foot, Jacob said. "Stick with the victim, 8 Kilo 6. Roger that." I could hear in the distance the whop, whop, whop of a helicopter blade beating the air, and the sound of footsteps running down the road behind us. 2 policemen came around the bend, sweating. "How are you, Emily? Are you hurt?" one of them asked. "No," said the little girl. She picked at a flower on her dress. "My God, is she all right? Are you okay, little girl?" a third policeman asked breathlessly as he ran up, putting his hands on his knees. He was larger than the other men, both taller and built more heavily. I smelled ice cream on his breath. "Her name is Emily." "Can I pet the doggy?" the little girl asked shyly. "Yes, sure. Then we've got to go back to work," Jacob said kindly. I perked up my ears at the word work. "Okay, I'll go with you," the large policeman said. "Johnson, you guys remain here with the girl. Watch that he doesn't circle back around." "If he were close, Ellie would tell us," Jacob said. I looked at him. "Were we ready to go to work?" "Fine," Jacob said. The brush was thick in places, the soil underneath sandy and loose. I could easily track the man, though. He was headed steadily downhill. I found an iron rod coated with his scent and ran back to Jacob. "Show," Jacob commanded. When we returned to the tool, we had to wait more than a minute for the bigger policeman to catch us. "I fell a couple times," he gasped. I could sense his embarrassment. "Ellie says he was carrying this crowbar. Looks like he dropped his weapon," Jacob observed. "Okay, now what?" the policeman wheezed. "Find," Jacob commanded. The man's scent was painted on bushes and hanging in the air, and it wasn't long before I could hear him ahead, scuffling along. I closed in on him in a place where the breeze was moist from a tiny stream, and the trees lifted their limbs high overhead, providing shade. He saw me and ducked behind one of those trees, just like Wally might do. I ran back to Jacob. "Show me," Jacob said. I stayed close to Jacob as we entered the woods. I knew the man was hiding. I could smell his fear and his hate and his fetid odor. I led Jacob straight to the tree, and when the man stepped out from behind it, I heard Jacob shout, "Police! Freeze!" The man raised his hand and a shot rang out. Just a gun. I'd been assured guns were okay, except that I sensed a flash of pain from Jacob and he fell to the ground, his warm blood spraying the air. Jacob's gun clattered away. I got it then, connecting separate pieces of information in a flash. Grandpa's guns and the way Ethan's cans leaped off the fence. Todd's firecrackers and the snap of pain when he threw one too close to me. The man by the tree was using his gun to hurt Jacob. He was still standing there, his gun pointed at us. His fear and fury had turned to elation. What came over me then was exactly the same primal impulse that had seized me when I attacked Todd on the night of the fire. I didn't growl. I just lowered my head and charged. 2 loud shots rang out, and then I had the man's wrist in my mouth, his gun falling to the dust. He screamed at me, and I held on, shaking my head violently, feeling my teeth tear into his arm. His foot smacked into my ribs. "Let go!" he shouted. "Police! Freeze!" the big policeman yelled, coming forward. "Get the dog off me!" "Ellie, it's okay. Down, Ellie, down!" the policeman commanded. I let go of the man's arm and he fell to his knees. I smelled his blood. His eyes met mine and I growled. I could feel his pain, but also his cunning, his sense that he was going to get away with something. "Ellie, come," the policeman said. "Dog ripped off my arm," the man shouted. He waved at something behind and to the left of the policeman. "I'm over here," he yelled. When the policeman quickly turned to see who the man was shouting at, the man lunged forward, scooping up his gun. I barked. He fired, and then the policeman fired several shots, punching deep pain into the man. The man lay down in the dirt. I felt the life go out of him in a whoosh, the black, angry sickness unclenching its hold on him and letting him slide away peacefully. "Cannot believe I fell for that one," the policeman muttered. He still pointed his gun at the now dead man, cautiously advancing and kicking the other man's gun away. "Ellie, you okay?" Jacob asked faintly. "She's okay, Jacob. Where you hit?" "Gut." I anxiously lay down by Jacob's side, nuzzling his unresponsive hand. I could feel the pain working its way through his body, and the blood smell was alarming for how much of it there was. "Officer down! Suspect down! We're—" The man looked up at the sky. We're under some trees down the canyon. Need medevac for the officer. Suspect is 1091. Confirmed suspect 1091. The policeman walked over and gave the man a kick. Oh, he's dead, all right. Who is the officer? 8 Kilo 6. We need help down here now. I didn't know what to do. Jacob seemed unafraid, but I was so filled with fear I was panting and trembling. I was reminded of the night when Ethan was caught inside the fire and I couldn't get to him. The same feeling of helplessness. The policeman came back and knelt next to Jacob. They're on their way, bro. You just gotta hang on now. I felt the concern in the policeman's voice, and when he gingerly opened Jacob's shirt to get a look inside, the shock of fear shooting through him made me whimper. Soon I could hear crashing and stumbling as several people ran toward us. They knelt by Jacob, shouldering me aside, and began pouring chemicals on him and wrapping him in bandages. How's Emily? Jacob asked them faintly. Who? The little girl, the policeman explained. She's fine, Jacob. Nothing happened. You got to her before he was able to do anything. More people arrived, and eventually they carried Jacob out on a bed. When we got to where the cars had been parked, a helicopter awaited. The policeman held me as they loaded Jacob on the helicopter, his limp arm hanging off of the bed. As the loud machine rose into the air, I twisted free and ran beneath it, barking. I was a chopper dog. Why didn't they let me go? I needed to be with Jacob. People watched as I circled helplessly, my front legs in the air. Eventually, Amy came and put me in a cage on a different truck, one filled with Cammie's scent. She took me on a car ride back to the kennel and exchanged me for Cammie, who trotted past me and leaped up into the truck as if offended I'd been in it. Gypsy was nowhere to be seen.